Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here, and today we find ourselves living the dream as a ranch owner, starting out with a small stable of horses and a fabulous home to train them in. The true test of a rancher's skill is how their horses perform at the showgrounds, so you'll need to keep an eye on what the judges are looking for and earn more trophies than anybody else. Fantasy Ranch puts you in charge of a magnificent guest ranch. Now you'll be buying horses, providing them a great place to live, and sending them to shows to win prizes and collect the most trophies over 5 rounds of play. Now today, we'll be doing a rule school where I'll show you how to set up and play the game so that you don't have to read the rulebook yourself. Fantasy Ranch offers 3 levels of play to make it easier to learn how to play the game. So this video is going to be for level 1, which explains everything you need to play. If you have already played level 1 and you want to learn about levels 2 and 3, you can click the link in the description of this video below me. And I've also placed timestamps below me too in this description, just in case you want to jump to a specific section of the rules. Without further ado, let's get started. Fantasy Ranch is a horse ranching board game for 2 to 4 players where you'll be selecting and running one of these magnificent ranches. You'll be able to pick one of the double-sided tiles that have different layouts for your ranch. Each player is going to be starting with horses that will go into specific locations on their ranch. And over the course of the game, players are going to be buying locations in order to move their horses into them. In each round, you'll be going through shows where your horses are going to be able to compete in specific types of shows and rolling a specific amount of dice, trying to have the highest to win the first prize, which is going to be more horses, or coming in later, which will give you different goods like food to purchase more horses on your turn. And you'll be trying to win the game by having the most trophies by having the most combined horses and locations purchased. But there's 3 levels that you can play the game, so it's easy to learn, but you can move to a complete Fantasy Ranch experience as you get to know the game. And it comes with rules and components to play with the whole family, even as young as ages 5 and up. To set up, you're going to place the Showgrounds board in the middle of the table where everyone can reach it. Then off the side of the board, you're going to group together all the like-kind horses and the different good tokens of values 1, 2, and 3. We have food and tack. Also off to the side, you're going to find all the location tokens that look like this, and you'll stack them in like kinds. Next, you're going to find the horses deck. You're going to shuffle this deck and then place it right on the horse cards section of the board. Next, each player is going to receive 4 horse cards face up in front of them. Then they're going to get a horse figure for each of these that corresponds with the location on the card. In the upper right hand corner, you'll see a location icon. You'll match the horse figure with the color of that location icon. I have them laying down flat so you can see them better, but you can stand them up if you like. Once all players have those 4 cards, then you're going to deal the top 8 cards from this horse deck face up on the different spots here. This is known as the sales barn. Next, you'll take the deck of shows cards like this, and you'll place it off to the side. You're only going to be using these as placeholders on the board, but we'll show you more about that later. Then, each player is going to select a guest ranch mat and place it in front of them. They don't play any differently, but they're all different guest ranches from different parts around the country. For example, I live in Arizona, so I picked the White Stallion Ranch in Tucson, Arizona. It's going to act as a player aid, and if you like, on the other side it has some information about this specific ranch. Then, on your guest ranch mat, you'll take 4 tack and 4 food from the supply, as well as 3 of the same colored dice, and place them right there. Next, you're going to look through the different ranch tiles, and you're going to select one to place next to your ranch mat. Now when selecting these, keep in mind they're double-sided, and for your first game, you don't want to select one that has a 1 in the trophy where it says home. So maybe you want to select a different one like this. It's totally up to you. Just for your first time, don't select one that has a 1 in the trophy in the home spot. Now notice on your ranch tile, there are different locations. Now on these locations, you're going to place the location tiles that you set aside during the setup earlier. As you can see, I've placed those location tokens on the corresponding spot on the tile. Keep in mind you never have to place anything on home because you get that one for free. Then you get to select one of these locations, take it off your ranch tile, put it below. You now own this location for free. You get to do this at the start of the game. Then you'll take any horses that you may have on the cards and place them there. Sometimes you might actually have more than one that you can place there. You can always place up to an amount of horses shown in the number just below that location. Then you'll take the rest of these horses and place it in the home spot on your tile. So for example, at the start of the game, my tile might look like this. The last person to have touched a horse gets to take the first turn. The object of the game is to have the most trophies at the end. One of the main ways to get trophies is to purchase horses from the sales barn, because each of your horse cards are going to be worth one trophy at the end of the game. And you'll also be getting a trophy for each of the locations that you're able to purchase throughout the game. The game is played over 5 rounds. Each round, players are going to take turns in clockwise order, and all their turns, they're going to do one action, and then they can do an unlimited amount of free actions. Then after everyone's taken actions, you'll go to the show phase where each round, there'll be 2 shows that you'll be competing in, and there'll be different shows during the different rounds. So let's talk about the different possible actions you can take on your turn. Remember, you're only taking one of these main actions. One of them is to buy a horse. Here we have the sales barn, and you can buy these horses assuming you can pay for them with the cost of food in the upper left-hand part. For example, if you wanted to buy Rebel, you would have to pay 3 food. So in order to buy this horse, you'd have to spend that 3 food back to the supply. Now you can only buy a horse if you can actually place it at a location that you already own. Like this case, this belongs in the range, and we could place it in the range. Each of these locations has a number of horses it can hold, and you cannot hold more than that. This one can hold up to 6, so it has rooms to hold it there. Now, you can always put them in the home as well, but only if, again, there's room. Right now we have 3 horses here, so we could not place it here because there's already a maximum of 3 horses there. And after someone buys a horse, a new horse will come face up in that spot in the sales barn. Now remember, you're only taking one of these 3 actions. Let's show you another possibility. You could buy a location. And here you'd spend the amount of tax shown as the number of boots on a location and place it down below here. For example, if we wanted to buy this pasture, essentially we would place it down here and spend this 2 tax. So here we would spend these 2 and put it back to the supply. You can easily make change with the supply with the different varying amounts. Now buying a new location allows you to now start being able to place horses of this type here. Now anytime you buy a location and it opens it up, if you have a horse in your home or multiples of those, you can place it in that spot just like that. So that placed it in the pasture and opened up a new spot in your home. And notice, these other actions, which I told you earlier, you can do an unlimited amount of these. Moving your horse figures is one of those, and that's what we just did. We had an open spot for a location that we had purchased. You can move a horse into that spot. You can move horses for free. Now the last of the 3 main actions that you could possibly take on your turn, remember you're only taking one of these, is to farm your ranch, and you can take 6 goods from the supply. Now these goods can be a combination of tack and food, and it can be split up in any way you see fit. Here I did 3 and 3, but it could literally be any amount of either of them up to 6. Now let's talk about the other 2 sort of free actions that you can take as many times as you want on your turn. We talked about moving the horse figures when you can, and now let's talk about trading resources. You can trade any 2 resources for one of another. So you could trade those 2 tack into the supply and get yourself 1 food, or vice versa. And the last of these 3 free actions is to sell horses. Now, why would you want to sell a horse? Well, earlier we talked a little bit about the different rounds. You're going to have 2 shows, and these shows are different types, like barrel racing or roping or eventing. And the horses that you have actually are going to show you which of these events they can actually participate in, and they're usually going to be really good at one of them. Like this one is really good at the trail show. We'll talk more about this in just a moment. But let's say we were in round 4 and there wasn't any real good shows that this one was going to be able to participate in. You could sell this horse, and when you sell a horse, you simply discard the horse off to the side of the board, and you gain the amount of food that it originally cost. So you would get 2 food from the supply when you sell that horse. So this would go on your mat. Now, why would you do this? Because you're trying to get food for other things, because any of these free actions you can do in any order, before or after your main action. So you could sell this, get the food, and then use that food to maybe buy one of these other horses that are up there. Now, after each player has taken one of those 3 main actions and any amount of those free actions, you're going to go to the show phase. And again, depending on which round it is, you're going to perform 2 different shows. You'll start with the top one. This one says barrel racing. Anybody that has at least 1 horse here can take one of those horses and participate in this show. Now, as we showed earlier, you're only able to have or purchase horses if they can go into a location you own or you have room for them in your home. So those are the horses that could possibly be competing in these shows. Now, the barrel racing show was this pink icon like this, and I have 2 horses that actually have this icon, so let's take a closer look. So here for the barrel racing, we have Gypsy, who has a number 1, and Rebel that has a number 2. This tells you how many dice of your color you're able to roll for this show. Now, in this case, we have multiple horses that can compete, but you can only send one of your horses. So in this case, we'll definitely send Rebel because this allows us to roll 2 dice instead of 1. So you'll roll both dice. Let's say we got a 5 and a 3. You take your single highest roll, and that is your score for that show. So in this case, let's say we had 4 players that actually had horses that could be in this show. We had our dice, the purple ones here. We had the 5 of our highest. This yellow set, they had 2 horses as well. They got a 5 for their highest. The blue player just had 1 horse, they rolled a 4, and the red player had 1 horse, they rolled a 2. You're going to be giving prizes for 1st, 2nd, and 3rd or 4th place. Now in this case, 1st place is going to be the highest die. Well, there's 2 that are tied. We have a purple 5 and a yellow 5. In that case, if there's more than 1 die, you go to that 2nd die to look for the tiebreaker. In this case, purple has a 3, yellow has a 2, so purple would win 1st place. We'll go over these awards in just a moment. 2nd place would be yellow because they have the 5, which is greater than the other 2 dice. And then blue and red would be both 3rd and 4th place. If for some reason they're tied, either if they both have a single die or if there's multiple dice and they're all tied, those players will re-roll their dice to try to break the tie. Now, if the 2 that were tied for 1st place had a 5, but this player had a 3 as a 2nd die, this player would win the 1st place because they had a 2nd die and this player did not. Now, 1st place, it shows a horse. They're going to be able to pick a horse from the sales barn. Now, when picking a horse from the sales barn, the normal rules apply, meaning you cannot select a horse if you cannot place it in the location it's supposed to go that you own or in your home. So in this case, let's say we want to pick this horse. It usually would cost 2 food, but because we won it from the show, we get it for free. We would take this and place this horse in the range. This would also get replaced by the horse deck. So here, again, it's going to go in the range, and it can hold up to 6. It's a location that I own, as we can see. And so this will go right here on the range. Now this is cool too, because look at this. It has a blue 2 there. Now this is cool because just in case I didn't have a horse that was able to compete there, I now can. So it's a way of sort of looking forward a little bit for maybe some upcoming shows or maybe some of the bigger shows later on. So 2nd place would get the goods here, 2 food, and 3rd and 4th place would get 1 food. Now, once you complete a show, off to the side during setup, you have a deck that says shows. You'll just cover that just to help count which shows have been completed already. Then you'll go to that 2nd show this round, in this case the eventing show, and this all works the same way, but now it's with using horses with that icon. And once you've given the rewards for 1st place, a horse, 2nd place, 2 tack, and 3rd and 4th place will get 1 tack. You then put that over here again, and now the 1st round shows are over. And after that show phase for the 1st round, you'll then move back to the action phase, going through the actions just like before, where every player will get that 1 main action and an unlimited amount of free actions. And then you'll go to the show phase of the 2nd round, and you'll keep doing this as you move through the different rounds. Now at the end of the 4th round, you're then going to go to the last and final round. It works the same way, but for the final show, it's the finals. Now these finals use world-class horses, and some of the horses you get will have those world-class show skills that you can see here. So this horse can actually participate in all 3 of these. They'll get 2 dice for the world-class Western show, 1 die for the world-class English show, and 1 die for the world-class driving show. Now you might have other horses that are better at different events. For example, you might have both of these world-class horses. You'll want to use this one for the Western show because it gives you 2 dice, but you might want to use this one for the English show because this one gets 3 dice. Now you could use the same horse for all 3, but keep in mind you're still only using one of your horses for each of those shows. Now competing in those shows works exactly the same way. For the horse you've selected, you roll that many dice. The highest one will, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, 4th place in the order of the dice. Now 1st place is going to get 2 horses from the sales barn, and the 2nd through 4th place are going to get 1 horse from the sales barn. Now, when giving the rewards for this finals show, it's important to know that you do not refill this sales bar until after all players have selected. So the first player might take 2 horses. Let's say they take these 2. And let's say the second place takes a single horse as shown, and the third place takes a horse as shown. So fourth place can only pick from what's left. Then once that show's over, let's say they pick this one, then this would get filled up for the next world-class show. So it might look like this after refilling for the next show, but also keep in mind, you can still only take a horse that you can place in a location you own or your home. Now, what if you don't have any world-class horses to enter the shows? Well, you can pay a total of 4 goods to the supply and enter to roll 1 die. And it can be any combination of the goods, 1 food, 3 tack, for example, or any combination you see fit, as long as a total of 4 goods to roll 1 die, but you must pay that for any of the 3 that you want to enter. So in other words, you have to pay those to enter each show if you're not using a horse. And after the finals are over, we'll see who wins by having the most trophies. You get 1 trophy for each of the horse cards that you've gotten throughout the game. So here we have 8 trophies. And then you'll get 1 point for each of the locations that you own. So 3 more trophies here for a total of 11 trophies. Whoever has the most trophies is the winner. If there's a tie for most trophies, the tied player with the most horses is going to be the winner. And if it's still tied, then the one with the most goods in total is going to be the winner. Well, I hope this helped you dive right into Fantasy Ranch and get to the fun quicker than you normally would if you had to read the rulebook yourself. Now, if you have further questions about the rules, I've placed a link below me in the description of this video, and that's the best place to ask them, since not only will I be notified, but so will the publisher. Once you're familiar with this level 1 as shown in this video, if you want to learn more about levels 2 and 3, you can click the link in the description of the video below me. This has been the Game Boy Geek, breaking down barriers and growing relationships through board games by helping you find the next one you'll love.